So maybe recently or not so recently, while you were examining your conscience, you noticed that you either fell into the sin of pride, or perhaps you were strongly tempted to fall into it. And pride is one of the biggest problems and challenges in our spiritual life. Pride makes us think way too much about ourselves and forget about God and our neighbors. However, there's a few simple ways, tricks, so to speak, that we can use in order to help us defeat this sin and resist the temptation to fall into it. So, the first would be to use the sword of humility. Humility is the opposite of pride. It means knowing that all of the good that we have in our lives comes from God rather than from us. So being humble does not mean putting yourself down. Rather, it means remembering that you are not the center of the world. We can grow in humility by reading the Bible, learning from the saints and emulating them, and being thankful for what we've been given. The second tip is practicing gratitude. So, gratitude is a bit like an armor. When you make it a habit of saying thank you, of giving thanks to God for all the big and small things in our life, it stops pride from creeping in. A grateful heart leaves less room for selfishness or greed. And it's slightly off topic, but I've also noticed that practicing gratitude also helps with with other temptations to sin, and even other aspects of life. So, for instance, in my personal life, I have noticed that in those periods in my life when I'm prone to feeling quite sad, um, almost falling into despair, practicing gratitude really helps me get over that and resist that temptation to fall into despair. So, yes, definitely practice gratitude. That is a great one. And then the third would be to stay in touch with the church, with your local community. Humility and gratitude can fade if we do not keep them up. The church is like a forge where these virtues are sharpened and strengthened. The catechism and the wisdom of the saints give us guidance, encouragement, and correction when we need it. And having a community, a group of friends that are just as committed to becoming saints is also really vital. I mean, if you think about it and we look back in time, a lot of the saints in their own periods of time, they were friends with each other. I recently was listening to a talk about Saint Philip Neri, and we were we were told that he was friends with Saint Therese of Avila, Saint Francis of Sales, Saint Ignatius. So there were all these great saints living at the same time, and they were all friends. How how inspiring! And yes, this makes sense. The people you surround yourself have a huge influence in your life. So definitely make sure you're surrounding yourself with great friends that share the same faith, that share the same deep desire to be in close union with God. So, yes, be humble, stay thankful, and keep close to the church. These are my simple tips to help you cut down pride and stop it from growing back. And if you've got any other tips that you found helpful in your own battle in trying to defeat the sin of pride, by all means drop it down in the comments below. Thank you and God bless you.